Thanks to all my supporters. Links are down in the description below if you want to support the channel. Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of this visual effects tutorial series. Now if you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, links to those are down in the description below, but basically today we're going to be doing some more advanced modeling and really getting our scene looking pretty good. So like I said in the previous tutorial, we have all of this in here, but it's very low poly, and that's actually because today we're going to be doing more high poly meshes and basically modeling out the buildings to look a little bit more realistic and more high detail. So let's get started by coming in here, and we're going to work with this building first since this is kind of one of the easier ones. Okay, so we're just gonna zoom in here real quick, go into edit mode by hitting tab. Now we basically just need to take all these faces and extrude them inwards to give kind of like a building effect. So to do that, let's just hold Alt and then click this to select this face loop, and then we can hit I, and you will notice that that has basically created a new face in here. However, it's not what we want. We want each individual face to act as their own instead of connecting to the other faces. So right down here we have this little menu that pops up. We can go ahead and hit individual, and that will inset it. Instead of basing it on all of the ones that we have selected, it will do it based on all of the faces individually. So let's just play around with the thickness a little bit, and then what we can do is right click. We're gonna extrude along the normals and then just move that in a little bit. If it's snapping like this for you guys, you can hold shift and that will disable snapping, and we just want it to go in just a little bit, not too much. Push it up like that. That is looking good. And now let's just do the same for these other three. So again, Alt select this, then I, and you will notice that it saves our previous settings, so we can just save that. It now does it to the individual face, and then right click extrude faces along the normals, hold shift and press it in just a tiny bit. Okay, so I went ahead and did that for our other column down here. So once you have that, we now need to do kind of some modeling for the little edge right here. So what we can do is hold Control R and just add a edge loop right here. Just make it about that thick right there, and then we can hit 3 to go and face select, Alt click this, and then hit E to extrude this out, and then 3 Alt click to select that face loop. Then we're just going to hit E to extrude and then S to scale, and we want to scale that outward a little bit. That just gives us a nice little lip and little edge right here like you would see on any building. So again, to demonstrate, Control R, make a edge loop right here, push that out, Alt click, E up, then Alt click this little edge loop right here, then E, S, scale that out, and there we go. Now we have that little edge. Now in these faces in here, we're actually going to have be our windows, but that is going to come in the material section of this tutorial, so we don't really have to worry about that now. Okay, so next is this little building over here. So let's select this over here. Now I know I want this to basically just go in a little bit, kind of being like some glass. So let's Control R, select that, just place some edge loops right here and here. That looks pretty good. And then what we can do is, first of all, let's just hide this little plane over here. So hit H to hide that, and then come back here. And then what I'm going to do is just going to select this. We could just Alt select that, so Alt click. Now we can hit E, and we're just going to hit S to scale that down a little bit. And now it's a little messy just because we have the normals turned on. So you can actually mess around with this if you want to make it look a little bit better. And so that is what we want. So over here, I know I want kind of some separation as well. So let's select this face. I'm going to hit I like that, just so it goes in a little bit. And then let's hit E and extrude that back, just so we get some more detail in here. And you will notice it's kind of giving us some problems right here, and that's because this face has a lot of polygons. However, if we come to this camera, we won't really see that too much, so we don't really have to worry about it. Okay, so what I do notice is I kind of want some separation right here to give us kind of a cool little effect. And before we select anything, we do want to make sure that nothing is selected, so let's just click out here to disable this face. Then let's hit C and just select all these edges right here, kind of going down. Okay, so once we have this, we can actually go ahead and Shift D to duplicate this. Now we have this, and then we're going to hit P to separate by selection. So that is looking good. Now let's go to that new object that we just created, so just this. And then we're just going to give this a little bit of extrusion, so I'm just going to extrude this just a tiny bit. And now what we can do is actually come over here, and I'm going to go to Add Modifier, and we're going to make this a wireframe modifier, and you can play around with the thickness to get something that looks pretty cool. Okay, so we basically got two of our main buildings done. However, if we unhide this by hitting Alt-H, we should see that every other building is still looking very bland. So let's actually come over here. For the sake of modeling, let's just select all these and then rotate on the X 90 degrees just so they're upright. That shouldn't mess around with our particle system. Now let's just bring this guy out just so we can see him a little bit better. Okay, so now we're going to have some fun and just play around with some designs of some buildings. I'm trying to go for a mirror's edge aesthetic, so kind of white on black. Kind of futuristic type of thing, but of course you can do whatever you want for yours. So for this first one, I'm just gonna add a bunch of edge loops right here, like that, and then if I scroll in, I'm gonna add some going horizontally as well. So it doesn't really matter how many you do, just whatever you think looks cool. So that is looking pretty sick. Okay, so now that we have this side done, we do need to do some edge loops over here as well. So like that, and now we have our building basically subdivided. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go into the face select mode, make sure that nothing is selected on our actual mesh, then come up here to select, and we're going to select random, and that will basically select random faces throughout our object. And because we're doing kind of a futuristic effect, I can do this. So we're going to right click, extrude along normals, and then again we're just going to hold shift and kind of make those go out a little bit. Okay, so something like this, that is looking pretty good. And because we have this selected now, what's going to help us a lot when we come to materials is to go ahead and set up a material for this. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to set a new material. So this is what the whole building is going to be like. However, we do need to add another material, so I'm just going to add another material there. And we want to hit this one to assign, since we already have all these selected, and that's just going to save us a lot of time later. So now if I select one of these, it's the first material. However, if I selected the ones that have been extruded, it's the second material. Okay, so here is the effect that we went for. We can see it looks pretty cool, pretty futuristic. So let's move on to the next building. Okay, so for this next building, I'm kind of just going to stick to a more modern style of building. So let's just add some loop cuts. Again, Control R to do that. I'm just going to add some there. Let's add some at the top and the bottom as well, like there, and then don't forget the sides over here to make this rounded out. And now let's do another loop cut in the center here, and we're just going to make a bunch of these. So about there is looking good. So what I can do now is select all the face loops. So again, hold Alt, click, and then hold Shift, and we can click every other face loop right here all the way until we get to the bottom. And once we're at the bottom, I'm just going to again right click, extrude along normals, then hold Shift, and let's just play around with this. That's looking pretty cool. So we have this kind of building shape. I might actually, let's try this. Let's select these face loops, so just all the edges right here. So I'm basically just selecting all of the edges so that we have all of them right there. That is looking good. Then I'm going to do that same thing, just to give it a little more depth. So right click, extrude along normals, then hold Shift. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. It gives us kind of a cooler shape of the building. So that is what I'm going to stick with. Okay, moving on, we have this building down here. Now this one is going to be super simple. We're basically just going to do what we did before, but without the little ridges. Because I don't want all of them to be super futuristic, because that will look kind of weird. So we're just going to do as many as possible. And let's add some loop cuts right here as well. Just trying to do the thing that we did before. Now let's select all these faces that I'm selecting here, basically the ones in the middle, like so. Then let's hit period on our numpad to just zoom in there. Then right click, extrude along normals, and then Shift to move that in just a tad. And that is all we're going to do for this building. Okay, so for this one I had a bit of fun with it. Let's go ahead and come in here. This one is basically just going to be like a shop level type of building. If you see like downtown areas, they just have like some shops out there. So I just added some loop cuts. Now I'm extruding to make like a little awning type thing. And then now what we can actually do, have a little fun with it, is to go ahead and hit K. And that will actually bring out the knife tool, and we can make any type of shape that we want. I just want to make some poles that are going down. So if I just click and make kind of a little square like that, and then if you press enter, it'll actually cut it out. So now we can select both of these faces and then extrude those down to make little poles like that. We can also do that to make some doors over here. So let's make a door right here, and then let's do a door right here. You're not really going to see much of this detail, but it's just kind of a cool thing that we can do inside of Blender. So let's select both of those and then just extrude those in. So now let's add a edge loop right here. Just bring this in just a tad, just because I think that's a pretty cool effect. Then up top we can bring it back like so. Then up here, let's have some fun and make an antenna. So I'm just going to add some edge loops where I want my antenna to be, kind of like this. Select this face, extrude this up, then we're going to hit I to inset, then extrude it up again, then I inset, and then extrude that up a lot. So that looks pretty cool. Let's actually do this. Let's go ahead and come over here, select this face, I inset, and then I'm just going to move this kind of corner over here, and now if I select that again, let's move that up. There we go. Just kind of giving us a cool little effect right here. And we can also make like a door for people to come up and walk up on, you know. So just E, extrude that up, and then we can move this little edge down. And with the knife tool again, which is K, we can just cut out a little door right here and extrude that back. Okay, so that is looking pretty cool. We can of course add other stuff in the material phase to make it a little bit more detailed. But now for our final two buildings, let's just come over here. Okay, so for this one, it's going to be kind of similar to the curved building that we did over there. So I'm just going to add some edge loops right here, and then right here, and then let's select this face loop. We actually don't need the back, we can just leave the back. And then let's hit E to extrude that, and then S to scale. And we can kind of just scale that in a little bit like that. And then let's get fancy with this little slide, add some color into our scene later on down the line. So I'm just going to select those two faces and then hit I to inset. However, it's insetting the individual faces, so let's actually go back to what it was before. And now you can see that it's basically conjoin those two faces together, so that's what we want. Then let's hit E to extrude that in. And then I actually want to get this side some character. I don't want it to just be windows. So I'm going to just add a thing right there, and let's see, something right here. Then we can just bring these guys right here, and I'm just going to extrude this out a little bit. Something like that. Might even get this right here and play around with this. Let's see, do it on the X and the Z. Just something like that. Kind of a cool shape. I don't know, just play around with it, see what works for you, but that's probably what I'm going to stick with. Okay, so for this final building over here, let's, this kind of looks like a command center or something, so you might just select this, extrude that, and then Shift Z to move on the X and just move that inwards like that. That's a pretty cool effect, like so. Okay, so over here, let's inset these real quick, like the other one. And then let's get fancy with it and have just a little bar going kind of in the middle right here. So let's just select all these and then extrude these back. That looks pretty cool. And the top needs some detail as well. I want this one to be like super futuristic, I think. So let's go ahead and add, that looks good. And for the top of this roof, let's see, let me try selecting all of these. And then if I extrude that up, yeah, that looks pretty cool. We'll just stick with kind of a cool futuristic effect. Finally, let's do a cool little pattern on this little thing over here, just on this. So what I might actually do is turn on this, and then if I go ahead and select all of this and hide, I want to hide these as well. Basically just trying to isolate this little panel right here and get everything else away. So I'm just going to hit C, just going to select all these faces that I don't want to be affected by what I'm going to do next. So let's hide those as well. C again, just select all these other faces, H to hide, and then right here we can go ahead and we can just go ahead and box select both of these faces right here because I don't want those to be affected at all. Okay, so there we go. So now we have just this front panel, and I want to do that same thing that we did for this building over here. So kind of like that checkered pattern. So let's go ahead and come up to select, then we're going to select random, Then we're just going to extrude that out like that. And let's do the same thing as before. So let's add our first material over here. So that's going to be the whole object. And then let's add the second material. And we know our second material is going to be whatever this panel is going to be. So let's assign that. So just to check, this is 1 and this is 2. So that's correct. So let's unhide all of that. And now you can see that we actually have extrusion just on this face only and not the other stuff. Okay, so those, I believe, are all the buildings that I want to do for this. Let's see how this looks now with all the buildings kind of modeled out and everything. Yeah, that looks a lot cooler. So one final thing that I kind of want to do is give some detail to this right here, since this is supposed to be a like AC unit or something like that. So what we can do, I know I want to have like a little vent right here. And so the easiest way to do that, I think, is to add a subdivision surface modifier. And let's just do 4 for now. Then let's make this be a rectangle again. So just add some edge loops like that. And then 1 up here. Okay, cool. So yeah, the easiest way to make circular stuff inside of non-circular stuff is just add some edge loops like this. Basically just trying to isolate where I want the actual unit to be. So right here is where I want this to be. Let's actually alt select this edge loop GG to move this over, just so it's going to be more circular. Then what we can do is hit E to extrude that out like so. And then if we add more edge loops in here, we can actually make this a little more circular, a little more defined. Okay, so that is looking good. We might need to right-click Shade Smooth. There we go. And then I know I want the vent to actually go inwards, so let's hit I to inset that. And then we're going to hit E to extrude that back, like so. And then we need to add a edge loop. See, right there. And we can just push that back. So now we have a little air conditioner unit, like that. Okay, cool. So vent is now done. Let's add a little thing up here. So I'm just going to, let's see, where do I want that? I think like right, I'll just do it right here since we already have that other edge loop. I'm just going to make a little kind of like console thing. Let's move this over, GG. Again, so select this face, E to extrude up. And just going to add some edge loops since we are working with a subdivision surface modifier. Looks like a stick of butter now. There we go. Now it's looking more mechanical. So that is looking much better now. We are having some weird artifacts over here, so let's see if I can fix that by adding an edge loop here. Yeah, seem to fix it. Need to add it all the way around just because we're getting some weird subdivision surface things going on. But right here. So for this one, since we can't add a edge loop without affecting this, let's try just adding a knife tool. So K and K, enter. There we go. That worked out pretty well. Get some weird geometry there, but it's so small we're not going to be able to see it. So there we go. I could add more detail to that, but we're not really going to be able to see anything, like if I add anything over here. So I'm not going to really worry about that for now. And we can always add some more detail in the future. Okay guys, so this is now looking pretty good for our cityscape. In the next tutorial, we're going to be doing some materials, which is really going to add some detail into our scene. But thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.